QI, where tonight we'll be splicing each other's timbers, hoisting our main braces and giving the ship's cat a good kicking in the Naval Navigation show. Let's meet the crew. First of all, my old mate, Ronnie Ancona. And something of a figurehead, Johnny Vegas. A bit of a bottom feeder, Jimmy Carr.
One time.
And Roger the cabin boy, it's Alan Davis. Let's hear your naval noises. Ronnie goes... Johnny goes... Jimmy goes...
That's Mexican food.
Alan goes...
Yummy, yummy, yummy.
Yeah, no, I meant N-A-V-A-L, not the other kind of naval. First up, a question on nautical names. Now, you each have got a hat. Put them on. There we go.
Sure. I mean, a lot of people would look stupid in this, but me.
So what I want to know is, as you look around the room, how many of you are genuine ship names? Banterer, we've got Ronnie's Spanker. And Flirt, we've got Johnny, and Titan Uranus.
HMS Flirt?
When you said it out loud, then it all made sense.
Yes, sorry. Try to be polite. Titan Uranus. What do you reckon?
Spanker's got to be a ship out of a Carry On film, hasn't it?
Yes.
Reporting for duty, everyone. Welcome aboard the Spanker.
Oh.
Now, hands at the ready. Ooh, naughty. And it's just...
But I happen to know, because of a naval connection.
Oh, what is
but
your
I
naval,
happen
what
to
is your
know
naval
that
connection?
there was...
I think I might have seen it online.
My brother is an admiral in the Navy.
Oh! Whoa!
Yes.
Admiral.
So do you,
and
like,
my
know
father
all
was a commander.
Your father was a commander in the Navy?
Yeah.
So your brother's done rather better.
My
Yes, because he's got that insurance business on the side, doesn't he?
my dad backdoored in through the sort of merchant
Did he?
Navy.
A lot of them do, I've heard.
We all tighten your anus.
If anything, the reverse, I find.
You look so innocent, and then it says tighten your anus. It's so fantastic.
I'm going to have lots of fun if I went out on this tonight.
What do you reckon, Johnny? You reckon it's yours, HMS Flirt? Do you reckon it's a real thing?
Yeah, I reckon HMS Flirt could be the one.
Yeah, it could be.
yeah.
The others might have been nicknames.
A bit of fun amongst the
Nicknames
sailors.
for ships.
In fact, Spanker, Banterer and Flirt were all, or have been, all ships in the Royal Navy. Titan Uranus was an... there've been two merchant ships, actually. There was an oil tanker and an ore carrier. Lots named after animals. There's been kangaroo, gnat, weasel, zebra.
Is the downside to this not the... I mean, obviously, the Royal Navy, very proud history.
Yes, fantastic.
But occasionally ships get sunk and people die, and then you've got to report back, I'm afraid things did not go well, 60 souls lost on Titan Uranus.
Yeah, well, there are worse ones. Cockchafer.
Well, that is how a lot of the sailors died.
And HMS Pansy. And...
Oh, that's fantastic.
Happy Entrance. So, just to say. So have a quick look. Imagine you are at sea, and we've got, I don't know, say, HMS Cockchafer, coming at you in the dark, or possibly going away from you in the dark, OK? Can you tell which one it is? Coming towards you or going away?
Well, green towards you, red away?
Not quite. Anybody? Your brother's an admiral, for goodness sake.
Is one port and the other starboard?
One
Is
is
that
port and
what
one is
we're dealing with?
starboard, yes. Do you know which is which?
No.
No, it's quite good to know.
Does anyone know? Red is port. Red is port.
Yes, but, yeah, I could have told you that. OK. That's how you remember, like, port is red.
And green is sherry.
Green is starboard, and what you say is green to green, red to red, perfect safety, go ahead. So what you would know from this is that the boat is coming towards you, and that would be important information to have when you're at sea.
I definitely would have crashed into that.
Yeah. Well, there is one of my favourite books of all time that you could read to avoid this happening. It was published in 1992, and it is called How to Avoid Huge Ships.
Who is this sold to? Small islands?
It went through several editions. What worries me is that they may have left stuff out in the first edition, and then they thought, oh, that was the other thing I meant to put in. It's ranked as the third oddest book title of all time.
Oh, go on, what are the other two? Come on.
The second, number 2, Greek Rural Postmen and Their Cancellation Numbers.
Yeah, the one about the urban postman I found a bit...
Who's that bothered? This is my favourite. Number 1, oddest book title of all time. People Who Don't Know They're Dead, How They Attach Themselves to Unsuspecting Bystanders and What to Do About It. Push your hat away, please. Why would you spend a year's rent hiring a rowing boat?
You're sleepy and drunk. And you've not been living in London long and you've gone on the Thames.
Yeah, I like all of those reasons, but no. It was in 1815, so what happened in 1815?
It was that lesser-known fire of London.
Like a really small fire that didn't get widely reported.
Not a great
One of
fire,
those,
no.
yeah.
Just a tiny one,
thing,
and
yeah.
people cashed in completely.
Waterloo, exactly. The big battle of Waterloo. Napoleon was defeated. What happened to Napoleon?
ABBA played live in the
Yes.
harbour.
That's it, exactly. And people took rowboats out.
It was
They
lovely.
Couldn't
There
get
were
enough of that blonde one. Absolutely. No, it's not that.
Is that when he was banished?
Yes. This is a really interesting part of the story, which I don't think ever gets reported. Do you know where he wanted to go when he was defeated?
Isle of Wight.
He wanted to emigrate to the United States.
Did he?
He went to the west coast of France, to Rochefort.
Oh, nice.
And there was a boat, there it is, the HMS Bellerophon, known by the men as Billy Ruffian, and they blockaded the port, and so he surrendered and was taken to the UK, and it was supposed to be a secret that he was first in Brixham and then the ship was moved to Plymouth, but he was so popular in the UK that people would spend a year's rent to get a rowboat out to the ship in order to see Napoleon. And he wasn't allowed to come to land because they were so afraid that he was so popular that there would be a public uprising.
Wow.
And in the end, achieve his goal of defeating Britain in the first place. 10,000 people boarded 1,000 small boats in order to get a glimpse of him.
And so how was he that popular? Hadn't we just fought him?
Well, that's the weird thing, that in a way, Waterloo, not hugely good for democracy, it's not something anybody ever says, but the Bourbons were restored as kings of France and the revolution was over, and there were people who believed him when he said that if he had come to Britain, he would have got rid of the nobility and he would have spread all the money to the people. But in fact, of course, that never happened because he never came. But, so there were people who genuinely thought he was incredible, and the crew used to hang notices over the side of the ship saying he's having his breakfast, he's having dinner with the Captain Maitland, and... It is the most extraordinary story that he was too popular to be allowed to land. I think it's extraordinary. And he was taken to St Helena, and then about 2,800 men and a squadron of 11 ships made sure that that one man stayed there on the
Well, you can
island.
see it from that picture, can't you? I mean, he's like the Bieber of his day.
Yeah.
Lovely grey pallor. Oh.
Anybody know when Nelson's pension ran out?
1974.
Is he...
Close. Seriously close, yeah.
Oh, is it one of these?
Is someone still claiming it?
Not anymore. It ran out in 1947, 142 years after his death. After the Battle of Trafalgar, his brother, who was an obscure Norfolk parson called Reverend William Nelson, was given an earldom and a pension of £5,000 a year. And this carried on, passed on down the family line until Clement Attlee stopped it in 1947. And even then, it was worth £400,000 a year in today's money. I mean, it was a serious amount of money. Right. Time for some salty language now. Complete the nautical rhyme. A pig on the knee.
Pig on the knee, I'm a Tory MP.
so pig on the knee is actually safety at sea. But
That
the next
old
one is
favourite.
a cock on the right.
Transgender surgery doesn't always go right.
Put out the light.
Put out the light.
Don't take flight.
No, a cock on the right.
The parish priest is strolling tonight.
Poetry from you, John.
Cock on the right, never lose a fight.
Fight.
It
Never
is.
lose a fight.
So it was superstitious sailors. They used to get tattoos of a pig on the left knee and a rooster or a cock on the right foot. So pig on the knee, safety at sea, a cock on the right, never lose a fight. Because the idea was that pigs and cockerels were kept in crates on the ships, and when the ships sank, the crates floated and the animals were associated with surviving shipwrecks. So
I heard that because a pig and a cock can't swim, so God would look at you benevolently and
Can
say...
pigs not swim? I think famously pigs can't fly.
yeah.
You're thinking of the Royal Air
They're
Force.
full of
They're
salt.
not-
That surely that bobs, doesn't it? Salt.
I don't know, it's going to be a struggle. When I take my baby swimming for the first time
Right.
and strap 2 pigs to his arms,
Yeah.
and I'm banned from the local swimming, you know what I mean?
For bringing your own food in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anybody know where tattoos come from?
I'll guess a South Pacific Maori.
It is. They had them, but it isn't where they come from.
Is it your lot? Is it the Scandinavian, the Vikings?
We're Randy Scandis, yes.
Is it the Vikings?
No, it isn't at all. As far as we know, medical tattoos go back about 5,000 years. Otzi the Iceman, who was found in the Alps, 5,000-year-old corpse, and he had tattoos over his spine, over his right knee and ankles, and he also had osteoarthritis in those joints. And so it's possible they thought that that tattoo had some healing effect or that it might do something. So they're at least 5,000 years old.
No, my brother got one, and, you know, the trend a few years ago to get it in a language that you don't understand, so you don't know if it's being misspelled.
Yeah.
And I said, what does it mean? He went, honesty. And as my mum walked in, he pulled his shirt on and just pretended he hadn't had it.
Lots of great women, tattooed ladies. Nora Hildebrand, she was America's very first professional tattooed lady. This is a wonderful drawing by my friend Sandy Nightingale of Nora Hildebrand. Doesn't she look fab? She had 365 designs tattooed on her. She claimed that she had been captured by a sitting bull and his tribe and tied to a tree and tattooed every day for a year. But, in fact, her dad did it.
I think she...
Yeah, her father Martin.
It's a
I think she
weirder
may have
story.
been trying to detract from men staring at her nose.
I mean, you've got to question that.
Well, if you
haven't
don't do your homework,
Yeah.
I mean, what do you expect?
How did he get
He was
involved?
she was like his showcase, you know, as it were, his window display to say, these are the ones that I can do.
Thank God he didn't own a garage, or he'd have just glued car parts to her.
Yes.
It should have looked like a transformer.
That's a weird thing, though. How creepy is that? You walk into a tattooist and say, well, I'm thinking about getting a tattoo, and he goes, well, just look at my daughter for a while. Pick anything you want.
Yeah.
OK.
When you have a tattoo lasered off, what happens to it? Do you know where it goes?
To heaven.
They can't recycle them, can they? What do you mean?
They don't scrape them off and give them to somebody else.
There was a guy at Bart's that had an incredible collection of tattoos.
Have you actually cut them off people's...
Yes, so whenever they got cadavers in, if they had an interesting tattoo...
Yeah.
And he would take that piece of
And
skin...
frame it.
And I think it was like in the 60s, they kind of went, yeah, I don't think we can do that anymore.
No, so come on, what happens to them? You laser off a tattoo, what...
It goes into your body.
Yes, exactly
into your
right.
body,
So the
yeah.
beams of light heat the ink and it breaks it down into tiny little pieces. It's absorbed into the blood and it is excreted. So it comes out in your poo. So
you see it in your poo and you go, that's what I really wanted.
yeah. So if you love somebody once...
A
it then
tattoo
can...
poo?
Yeah, you can poo them away.
If it came out in the wee, you'd stand there going, I'm an octopus.
I now understand why boys make such a mess in the toilet, because they're not holding on. It's Here's a naval question you'll know, if your brother's an
Yes.
admiral. Why is the Navy salute different to the Army salute? And do you know how it is different?
Yeah. It is.
Yeah.
It's the Navy one's more of a...
hands.
It's more of a...
But
Coolie! Hello, sailor!
That's right, that's the Navy.
That's the Navy.
And the Army is like that, exactly right. Do you know
That's
why?
the Army.
It's because Benny Hill wasn't in the Navy?
Because
Might be because their hands were covered in grease and Queen Victoria didn't like it, so she made them, instead of standing like that, she made them stand like that. so that she couldn't see how dirty their hands were.
Sorry, so they were meeting the Queen. They went, should we wash our hands? No, it's only the Queen coming, don't worry about it.
There's a lot of weird Navy things. They toast the Queen sitting down, the Navy. They don't stand up. It's the only services that are allowed to do that. I'm not sure why. It was either William IV or Charles II, and he was coming back to England, and he stood up during the toast, and he bumped his head on a beam, and he announced that from then on the Navy would sit down when drinking. And so now they do. You toast the King and Queen.
They've got all sorts of very interesting language. It's a bit rude, but actually the term for premature ejaculation is getting off at Fratton, because Fratton is the train station to before Portsmouth. Which is your final destination, really.
Two before. So what's the station just one before? Because sometimes it's not that bad. Sometimes I fall asleep at the station and I'm there for ages.
It's almost too much information for me, really.
Thanks for sharing.
I go to Portsmouth all the time. I shall look at Fratton with new eyes.
Do you?
I do, yes.
No, same here, yeah.
What? Go to Portsmouth?
Oh, no, I thought we were talking about Fratton.
Oh.
I'm so sorry.
For some sailors, tattoos were thought to be a real lifesaver. Now, what are these men looking at?
Their feet.
No, there's something
their
higher
genitalia.
up.
I think they're looking...
It's higher
Their navels. They're navel gazing.
Yes. They're engaged in omphaloskepsis, or navel gazing. So the Greek for navel is omphalos. And apparently it's an aid to meditation. It doesn't look like what they're doing, does it? But in some yoga practices, it's regarded as an aid to meditation.
It looks like they're thinking, these pills I bought on the internet are not working.
Yeah, but you can never quite capture in a statue someone crying. And going, why me, God? Why me?
After having a couple of kids, I tell you, it's not meditative. I just see blind panic when I look at mine.
Well, we should all possibly panic when we look at our navels, because the average human navel has about 50 species of bacteria in it.
That one's got a peanut in it. Never mind bacteria, that's a whole peanut.
They're very varied, aren't they? Belly
There's
buttons.
an innie and an outie and a kind of
Mine,
lateral horizon.
honestly, if you combine it with my man dress, whenever I take my top off, it looks like my midriff has been rejected for a loan. It looks so depressed, like it's filled out all the forms and everything.
But if you stand on your hands, does it look like it's got the
Well,
load?
I could turn upside down and it looks like it's in tax exile. Mine's got real passion. It's got more range than this has.
Do you know why they are innies or outies? Do you know what the reason is?
It's just where they tie it off, isn't it?
No, it's nothing to do with that at all. So after birth, the umbilical cord is cut, I don't know, what is it, about an inch or two from the newborn's belly, and then it dries up and falls off as the muscles close up, and the navel is just the scar left, basically, from the base of the cord, and usually it ends up slightly retracted, but sometimes a bit of extra skin stays, that's all, and it makes it stick out, or the muscles don't close off, and you get left with a little tiny protruding hernia.
That one's got a hand growing out of it.
Yes, that is worrying. That is worrying.
A bloody disaster, that.
This is amazing. They can remove your kidney, your gallbladder, through the navel now. They don't even have to do any scarring now.
They've got to ask, haven't they?
They do have to ask.
Do you a tattoo of a little door?
It beats waking up in a bath on holiday with all the ice around you. Not again.
They can do everything now. They can turn you inside out through your navel.
Can they?
Yeah.
How can they turn you inside out?
You just put your hand in. It's like a duvet cover.
Also, my mum's got some loose skin at the back. Next time she's holding drinks, I'm going to try the...
My mum's got some loose skin at the back, while I'm sure she's watching this proud as ever. Although Johnny's on television this evening, he's so proud of that.
Your phone's already ringing off the hook.
Imagine if
What's
she's...
this about loose skin on your back? It's the talk of the street.
It's the only work I do that the girls from Bingo watch. But imagine if she was still holding the tray of drinks. And suddenly looking 10 years younger.
there's an underwear model, I think, Karolina Kokova. She's got no belly button at all. Well, I mean, all humans ought to have a belly button, but I think there are a few people who don't if it's...
Oh, now there's a tattooed woman who's had the whites of her eyes tattooed blue and she's had her navel removed.
Yes, I think you can do it as a sort of cosmetic thing.
She's had her eyes... Not her eyeballs.
Yes,
her
she
eyelids.
has.
Or
No,
her
her
eyeballs.
eyeballs injected with purple ink.
You can get your eyeballs tattooed, yeah.
Well, it saves on mascara.
I know, but
why would you do
I
that?
don't know that.
Because you probably saw it on QI and went, yeah.
All you have to do is drink for 20 years and you get a lovely shade of red.
It's all been worth it, Johnny.
Contemplating your navel can bring you both innie and outie peace. It's nice, isn't it?
Oh,
you know
right,
what? When I get angry...
What am I 1.5 inches taller than? I'm 5 foot tall.
The cast of Time Bandits.
You are...
Kylie Minogue. She's 4'11", isn't she?
She
You
is
were
tiny.
1.5 inches, God rest his soul, smaller than Ronnie Corbett.
Yes.
He
Ronnie,
was 5'1.5".
Ronnie Corbett and I worked together often. I remember playing golf with Ronnie and he said, "Dear God, darling, from a distance we must look like a condiment set." Tribute to him, one of the funniest men I ever worked with.
Oh,
just a delight.
Is it a naval thing? Is it anything to do with naval?
It is about exploration, it's about travel, but it's about travel in a different direction.
Oh,
so away
is it roller coasters?
Space, yes, it's space. Yes, it's the minimum height for NASA. You need to be 4 foot 10.5, and the maximum is 6'4". Basically, you need to be tall enough to reach the controls and not too tall to fit in the seat. The weird thing is that in space, I'd quite like to go, because you grow 2 inches because of the lack of gravity. So you could go into space and exceed the height limit if you started out at 6'4".
Surely it all comes crashing down once you land.
Yeah, I
You
mean...
get nearer and nearer the Earth.
But what if
so
you're
nearly
up
home,
in
love.
space, you're up in space,
Yeah.
and then you suddenly tell you're too tall?
Well, when astronaut Scott Kelly came back from the International Space Station, he had a twin brother. They had been the same height when he had left, and he was 2 inches taller than his brother when he got back. Once you get back to Earth, you shrink back pretty quickly. And the other thing, this would be very good. You'd like this, darling. It's very good for your figure, OK? So
Why would that be good for me, Sunday? I'm dying to know.
Because your chest and navel might get a loan.
Yeah.
But then it would stretch, I'd get overcompetent and then break the record for eating cheesecake in space.
What happens is in space, the internal organs move up inside the torso, so your waist shrinks by several inches. So on Earth, for example, the human leg muscles, they pump blood into the upper body against gravity, but in space, no gravity, so the blood and fluids get pumped upwards and you get these buffed-up torsos.
Can you get breasts that sit above your clavicles, then? That'd be great.
You sound like that's something that people want. They go, oh!
You can eat a pizza and keep it there for 2 weeks.
If you just got bad acid indigestion, you could do
That's
that.
a reflex.
No, I'm used to reflux.
Well, this is very off-topic. When I first met Johnny,
Very refluxy.
I don't know why you're apologising.
he had acid reflux. It was in the Gilded Balloon in Edinburgh back in the day, and you were making homemade Gaviscon from half a pint of Baileys and half a pint of Cointreau. You said, have a sip of that. It's homemade Gaviscon. It really takes the edge off.
It was a drink that allowed you to keep on drinking whilst, you know, keeping the acid demons at bay.
Half a pint of Baileys, half a pint of Cointreau.
Oh, Johnny.
Literally a recipe for disaster.
So I shall
Did
every
it
night.
work? Did it work, though?
The Cointreau gives you an edge, and the Baileys
Takes it away again.
takes away the edge.
I'd quite like to see you in space. I think it'd be great.
Would you like to go?
I would absolutely like to be
Is
one
it
of
the
my...
weightlessness, the view of Earth?
It's that it's so other. Apparently, the weirdest thing is, because your organs are kind of up in the top of your body, you can also feel your food literally floating around as well. Helen Sharman talked about this weird feeling of your own food floating inside, because there's no gravity.
Doesn't appeal.
Does it not? Oh, I would love to go, and I wish they would send some poets and some artists up there so that we can get a bit more of an idea of what it actually... Because whenever you see one interviewed, they go, yeah, it's very nice.
Just send Will Self to do a video diary. The majestic splendour of Earth is a little disappointing. 14 days without a cigarette now.
Yes.
The minimum height for a NASA astronaut is 4'10½", so hope for me yet. Alan, what have you got that most people would describe as average rather than large or small?
Oh.
Oh, don't you look handsome?
Oh, you do.
Look at you.
Oh, he dresses up well.
When did people start wearing ties with a suit like that? When did that start happening? What have you got you would describe as average rather than large or small?
All of me is average.
No, that's not. That's
Nothing
not
of
true
me
at
is
all.
large or too small.
So it's in your visage.
It's the
area.
distance between his
nose,
eyes.
mouth,
It's your
teeth.
nose. It's your nose.
Nose.
Here's the weird thing. Early British passports didn't have photographs at all, so you had to describe your facial features. So for nose, almost everybody wrote average rather than large or
So
small.
overall, they were right.
If you wanted to appear authoritative, you could put Roman, apparently. You could say that you had a Roman nose. Other categories put forehead. How would you describe your
I
forehead?
would describe mine as at least a 6, possibly an 8 head. I'd describe mine as an ant off of Ant and Dec.
I can never remember which one that is.
It's the one with the Jimmy
one on
Carr
the left.
forehead.
And complexion. How would you describe your complexion? Those are the other things I had to do.
I would say ruddy.
Ruddy is...
Ruddy's good.
Ruddy was good.
I've got a ruddy complexion.
Yes. Fresh was good. The British government apparently disliked the idea of putting physical descriptions on passports. It meant that British people would be scrutinised by foreigners.
Quite right, too. Those were the days where it was
No.
only the British that travelled, and everyone trusted us anyway.
Absolutely. In 1835, the Foreign Secretary, Lord Palmerston, argued with the Belgian government, saying requirement to provide one's height and eye colour was degrading and offensive.
And besides,
Quite
none of
right
us want to
too.
come to Belgium.
How things have changed. My 8-year-old was body searched and swept for explosives
Your
twice.
8-year-old?
And guess what? She was clear, so we can all sleep easy in our bed.
So what was... Why was she going alone to Syria?
There's a fantastic letter written in 1914 by a man called Bassett Digby. It says, Sir, a little light might be shed with advantage upon the high-handed methods of the Passports Department of the Foreign Office. On the form provided for the purpose, I describe my face as intelligent. Instead of finding this characterisation entered, I have received a passport on which some official, utterly unknown to me, has taken it upon himself to call my face oval.
That's so brilliant. You could
Yeah.
have just be anybody you wanted to be.
Yeah. Why do you think it changed? Why did we suddenly think, actually, that's not a good idea, these written physical descriptions?
Wartime?
Yeah, it's World War I. We suddenly got very anxious about German spies, and we thought, actually, we better... They don't take a good photograph, we'll take photographs. It'll be absolutely fine. Who doesn't need a passport?
I presume
Or the Queen.
The Majesty, Her Majesty does not need a passport.
But she has to bring a 20.
But
Could you just turn to the side, Mom? Certainly. That's me.
The passport is issued in her name, and therefore she is, as it were, a passport. So she doesn't need to carry one. Now, for a truly gigantic feat of navigation, every year this bird flies 5,000 miles across the Pacific. What does it do when it gets there?
has a cocktail.
I like that it has a cocktail, but
Remembers
no.
it's left the gas on?
Sweet.
Unclips its wings, unzips, and it's an otter.
And 2 points to Johnny.
Duke goes to duty free, gets 200 fags, flies back.
Well, the last part is, in fact, correct.
What, it flies
flies back
5,000
again.
miles?
It's the weirdest thing. It
gets
has a rest, and then it goes back again. It's the ancient murrelet, and it's a Pacific seabird. The common murre is a large auk, so the murrelet is a small one. and it's called ancient because of its grey back. It's supposed to look like a shawl draped over, I don't know, draped over an old person's shoulders. And every year it travels 5,000 miles across the North Pacific from Western Canada to the seas off Japan, and then the following spring it goes back again for no discernible benefit whatsoever.
Maybe it's just disappointed with its destination.
Well, mostly they migrate for warmer weather or better food sources, but the food and the climate is the same at both ends. And so the only explanation that scientists have come up with is that it is automatically following an ancient migration route, which used to make sense, and the poor bird hasn't realised yet that it's pointless.
Even there's no benefit in the seasons or the climate?
No benefit
or
whatsoever.
temperature?
You do have the penguins on the beach in South Africa, so do they just get there and they're going, ah, ah, and there's a kind of social awkwardness, and they go, come on, Mildred, we're leaving. Don't take your coat off. We're not staying.
But they go from Western Canada to the seas off Japan. I don't think they take in South Africa on the way.
You know what? In my head, it was a great theory.
The Arctic terns are extraordinary. Every year they travel up to 50,000 miles between the Earth's poles. They use...
And what's their act, out of interest?
What kind of a turn is it?
Yeah.
I was there with you. And rather than flying directly from the Arctic to the Antarctica, they go on a route which adds 1,800 miles to the trip, right? So it's incredibly complicated. But they take advantage of the global wind system, so they're probably saving energy.
I'm sorry, could that map be a little bit less clear? I'd like to know less about what's going on.
I saw that. My child had 3 crayons in a pizza parlour.
What's that telling us?
It's showing us that
Spaghetti's delicious.
They don't go straight from the Antarctic to the
That's
Arctic.
what you call the cartologists
They get blown
covering
about.
their options, aren't they, really?
So most of the journey, they're just going, whoa! It's windy! It's windy!
It's amazing, though, to travel that far. Do you not think? Although the longest non-stop flight ever recorded is the bar-tailed godwit, and when it migrates, it flies 7,100 miles without stopping.
I once went to Swansea for 70 quid.
Did you? Very similar journeys.
Equally pointless.
Did you get there and come straight back again?
I wanted to. Someone put me out and it turned out all right.
I do find the whole navigation thing so extraordinary. Sand wasps fly backwards around their home when they leave in the morning, and it's to make sure they can find their way back again. They check out exactly what it looks like around their home, and that way, so they fly backwards away from home.
Yeah,
check
that's
out what
what
it looks
you
like.
should be doing, Johnny. Just walk backwards around your house and people tell you you'll never get lost again.
Now it's time for us to pull out the bungs and immerse ourselves in the murky waters of general ignorance, so fingers on buzzers, please. What is the fastest swimming stroke? Jimmy.
Dolphin.
Well, dolphins are jolly quick, but even they can't do this stroke.
But they could probably beat whoever's doing
What
it.
they can do, which we can't do, we create a bow wave when we're swimming, and dolphins are able to leap over it, so there's no water resistance.
So, points for that, then.
But no,
100%
it is
right.
no.
Well,
it is the
100% right,
fastest swimming stroke.
Are we looking for a human stroke?
human
or
one.
a human stroke?
It is a stroke that humans can do, but we got it from somewhere else.
A butterfly.
Oh, I like it that we got it from the butterfly. I like that.
The backstroke.
No, it's not the butterfly, it's not the crawl.
Doggy paddle.
The tumble turn.
When they turn and then they swim, do you know what they do then?
Oh,
That sort of wiggling underwater
The
bit.
wiggly underwater thing, it's called the fish kick.
Oh, you know what else they
Fish
call
kick.
it? They call it the dolphin. That's exactly what a dolphin does. So, literally points, because, I mean, that is a dolphin.
No, 'cause-
He's doing a dolphin.
In Jimmy's defence, they don't wear Speedos, but they look very similar.
They do look very similar. You're only allowed to swim underwater for the first 15 metres, so that's why people don't do it in competitive swimming, although there are some fantastic... This is an American swimmer who has the best name ever. Her name is...
Is it Hyman?
She's called Misty Hyman.
Misty.
I do know her.
Gorilla...
Is she a pork?
She's one of the most famous proponents of this underwater fish kick, and she thinks underwater swimming would be rather fine for audiences. She said they would have the excitement of wondering where you're going to pop up again. I very much enjoyed the interviews that they did with the swimmers who won gold medals in the Olympics, and I remember one of them saying, they said, well, what was the secret? She said, well, I realised the competition was very stiff, so I put my head down and swam really fast. I thought, oh... It's always good. Now, what did Highland warriors wear at the Battle of Bannockburn?
Kilts.
No, not kilts.
No. Here's a random Scandinavian fact.
Oh, OK.
The word kilt comes from the Danish word kilte, meaning tuck. So it's actually a Danish word. Used for yes, that's rather fine. But medieval Scottish warriors did not wear kilts when they went into battle. What did they wear? Anybody know?
Pantaloons.
No, it was a yellow tunic.
A yellow tunic?
A yellow tunic called a lane croich.
I love the bloke on the left's got one of those umbrella hats from the fair.
Yes, they're rather fine, aren't they?
He's trying to knock it off. That's a stupid hat. It's not even ready.
What was weird? They used saffron to make them yellow, but if they didn't have saffron, they used to use a...
Urine.
Yes. Horse
Very
urine.
keen on the yellow, then.
Pashteen chunna.
Yeah.
Well, urine was in all the tweeds as well, because they used to use it to fix the colours in the tweeds.
Yeah, but still, you know, can we not make it green from the grass? No, keep on pissing on it.
Yep.
That horse has got the hots for the painter.
Yeah, he's looking right at him, isn't he?
Now you're getting my best side. Don't paint the twat in the umbrella hat of gold.
Just wonder, we do have a sort of image, don't we, of the kilt being part of the
Very much
attire.
so.
But in fact, it was invented for a totally different reason. It was
Invented for weddings. They're always in weddings.
No, it was a...
Sometimes you can have too much material for a kilt. I'll just wrap it around here, don't worry about it.
One day they'll invent scissors.
But it was actually invented in the 1720s by an English Quaker and industrialist, a man called Thomas Rawlinson, and he wanted a safer item of clothing for his employees, his Scottish employees in his iron foundry.
Can I suggest you don't go north of the border and mention that fact?
Well, the word tartan comes from the Middle French. They won't like any of it, really. The word kilt is Danish, none of it's good.
Did he have a shop for tourists in Edinburgh? Was that why he was secretly...
I've never been in one of those shops that says, we can find the tartan for any surname.
Oh, yeah.
Apparently not.
No.
Sorry, how do you explain what you're wearing?
Yes, the great Danish Toksvig tartan that I'm...
It's rather fetching.
Sandy, would you speak a bit of Danish for us?
Ja, det kan jeg. Du er den smukkeste dame, jeg har aldrig set. Så der var.
Did she just make that up?
No, I just said...
No, she just said it backwards.
There was one day in a way I said, you're the most beautiful woman I've ever seen.
Thank you.
are.
But actually...
I can lie in 2 languages. If you... If you're so hungry you could eat a kilt, don't eat the yellow ones. There you are, that's the advice. Name a cold-blooded creature.
Lizard.
So there are some.
Yes, they
yes,
are.
but there are also...
That's why they like the sun to warm up.
There are
We've
also...
had it on here before. I learnt that on here.
Yes.
He's spent 10 years doing this show for pieces of information like that.
But I've arrived with new information.
Oh, no.
Simon Cowell.
There are, in fact, warm-blooded lizards and, indeed, warm-blooded fish. Almost all reptiles. You're absolutely right. That's a horrible picture.
That's not a good one, though.
That is a jackery caiman eating a catfish.
Or the catfish eating a caiman's tongue.
Yeah. Almost all reptiles and fish are cold-blooded, so they depend on their surroundings to heat them up. However, in 2015, we have just new news. Scientists have discovered warm-blooded lizards and fish. Oh, I know. So that lizard there on the left can heat itself up to 10 degrees warmer than its environment, and nobody knows why.
And they both live together?
No, they don't. Those are... Well, they look surprised, and the fish looks very surprised. It's called an opa fish. It's the only completely warm-blooded fish.
How is it the only one? Is it just really awkward? I'm sorry, how do you become the only fish that's warm-blooded out of a whole... Or did it just have an overburning mummy made it a hot water bottle and it just ate it and had an idea?
It's a really good question, because the fact is we don't know how warm-bloodedness evolved.
It's a hot water bottle.
And then
It looks like a hot
decided
water bottle shape.
Well, was that more prevalent post the wipeout of the dinosaurs? Isn't there a theory that they died because of the change in temperature?
Well, the thing is, dinosaurs were neither warm-blooded nor cold-blooded, but they were somewhere in between.
They were just right, weren't they?
Yeah, they were just right.
They had lovely Goldilocks blood.
Because there are disadvantages to being warm-blooded, OK? Because one of the things is you have to keep eating to get fuel to maintain the constant body temperature. So if, for example, a lion was as big as a Tyrannosaurus rex, it probably wouldn't be able to eat enough to survive.
But isn't there the theory on the dinosaurs where they died out because over a certain temperature all the eggs hatched as male, and below a certain temperature, they all hatched as female. And then the temperature went down, and they all hatched as female, and then there were no one to mate with.
Well, there are as many theories about how the dinosaurs.
But that's the correct one.
That's the one
that I can
That's
vaguely
one.
remember,
Right.
I'm 90% sure is 100% correct.
There's someone who's never watched King Kong. Massive gorilla, mate. Twatted all of them.
Well, that spoiled the end of that film. Now, what was the name of the village where Napoleon was defeated in 1815?
Well, it definitely was. I mean, 100%.
Yes, go.
It was Waterloo.
So it was.
Yeah, well, it definitely was.
It was.
No.
Well,
The
it was.
Battle of Waterloo did not take place at Waterloo. It is called that because it's where the Duke of Wellington stayed the night after the battle, and it's where he wrote to his superiors about the battle. But in fact, most of the battle happened a few miles away in the municipalities of Braine, Lieude, and Lasne.
You'd be really pissed off if you were a little village or a little town and your claim to fame was a massive victory and you had to spend all the time going, no, it was here with
sorry,
us.
it's a few miles up
So I'm
the
going to have to... I'm going to write to ABBA now, but what's the name of it? What should the song be called? What should it be called?
The municipality of Braine, Lieude.
That's a bit
and
difficult to rhyme,
Lasne.
but OK.
Yeah.
Municipality.
Yeah.
Well, it's going to ruin Mamma Mia, but
I know.
fine, have it your way.
I know. The Battle of Waterloo didn't happen in Waterloo, and finally, who wore the trousers in Britain in the 18th century?
No one.
Somebody did. One class of person. Where have we been from the beginning? Where did we...
sailors.
Sailors. Absolutely right. It was only sailors. Men wore breeches and women wore skirts, and trousers were specifically defined in a 1780 nautical dictionary as a sort of loose breeches of canvas worn by common sailors.
So what about your officer class? They'd have breeches,
They would have
wouldn't
breeches on, yes. In fact, the Duke of Wellington was once thrown out of a club for wearing trousers.
All been there, eh, Johnny?
They've all been there.
Because of your trousers.
Actually, Nelson died on deck partly because he was wearing his epaulets, and so he could be seen, whereas Wellington, rather famously, wore dark clothing with no decorations. He's one of the sort of first people who wore camouflage, as it were. He didn't want the enemy to be able to spot him.
Nelson refused to take them off, didn't he?
Yeah.
And they pleaded with him to take off because he could be seen and become a target.
Yeah, although originally he had discouraged other officers from wearing them, saying it was too French, but it was important to him that he, as it were, he led the way. So, anyway, in the 18th century, the only people who wore trousers were Jolly Jack Tars. And that's your lot for tonight. Time to settle the old scores. Well, it's an outright win with a magnificent 7 points. It's Ronnie! In second place, and I'm very surprised because he had winner written all over him, but with 1 point, it's Johnny! With -2, it's Jimmy!
-2. What was the point? What was the point of that?
And an epic fail, -36, Alan! Well, that brings us to the end of our naval adventures, thanks to Ronnie, Jimmy, Johnny and Alan. And I leave you with this nautical headline from the Western Daily Press. Fish rescued from a large pool of water.